Carey, I'm trying to think when we last met. It's been ages.
I think it must have been, Kathy, at Kew Gardens, I think. Or maybe in your offices briefly one time, but
Possibly before we moved. We'll come back to that, but I wanted to say thank you so much for doing this interview. Firstly, I should say I'm Kathy Dean. I'm CEO of Save the Rhino International, and I'm joined by Carey McClay. And Carey, to my shame, I don't know your job title, but you are...
Well, I'm just a poor, humble director nowadays. So I just, Victor Stationery has its own management team. I'm still involved in the business. But nearly at a non-executive level. But anyway, my brother and I are still there. We still own the business, and we've been delighted with the support we've had together over many years. It's been great.
Well, it's been fantastic. I mean, and the reason for asking for the interview now is that you're coming up to a very significant birthday at some point in the next year or two, I believe. Is it 100 years since the Rhino brand was introduced?
Yes, indeed. I mean, the business is older than that. But the Rhino brand, yes, I think it's next year. Yes, my grandfather came back from America with a second-hand envelope machine.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A second-hand envelope machine and a wife. So, and that started the Rhino series, which yes, was the beginning of the Rhino brand.
Gosh, and that was quite fitting because, of course, that was when the Southern White Rhino numbers were so low. By the beginning of the 20th century, there were only 50 to 100 animals left in one park in Shishlui Park in South Africa, and the 17, 16, 14,000, however many Southern White Rhinos we have today, all came from that group. So it's been kind of the history of your brand is up there a lot on the same time span as the recovery of the Southern White Rhino population.
My goodness, but even though it's recovery, obviously it'd be great to see far, far more.
It would, and there's been obviously been a big knock on the population, especially in Kruger National Park, that we'll come to. But we also wanted to have this interview because in July, if we've done our sums right, that is when all the donations from Rhino Stationery, ever since our partnership began in 2006, add up to £100,000. And I don't think any of us realised back then when we were sitting around the table in Winchester Walk just how long the partnership would last, how lovely it would be to work with each other, and how much we would be able to do for rhino conservation with the funds that you've donated. So a huge thank you from me and from everybody at Save the Rhino International for the support.
No, it's been terrific, and we our small part we played in the the huge amount of work you guys do has just been brilliant. I read with awe many of the reports of what's going on and the effort and the commitment, and that's what right at the very beginning, the first time we met, that's what really, if you like, did it for me, was just seeing the enthusiasm of you and your team, and in what was not a big space, and terrific. I mean, the just the energy and passion you guys have for what you do is actually like the energy and passion people in our business has for our business. That for us was the attraction. I'm trying to remember the name of the marketing lady at that time.
It was Nikki Springthorpe. Yeah, and then after that there was Petra Fleischer. I think it was Petra when we had the picnic in Kew Gardens.
That's right. But it was Nikki who had to get up and go, because she'd done a corporate thing with Leeds Rhinos, and that gave her the idea of contacting corporate people, and then I got the email, and it was so appropriate because we were just at that time we wanted to be involved with the charity, etc., because obviously because of our connection to schools and all that, and we've been talking to NSPCC, and we've been talking to the Woodland Trust and others, and then her email came in, and we thought we must go and see these guys too, and we were just like blown away by what you told us, and we just thought, well, we couldn't possibly go anywhere else. It had to be and
Well, I
and,
think
and the fit was so good. So,
we've had to move office since then. They were sort of redeveloping our old scruffy, lovely offices, now some very smart flats and restaurants. And although our office these days is a bit smarter and a bit bigger, certainly the enthusiasm is still here. You know, in those days when you came, I think we were 5, possibly 6 people. Now we're 9, but still a pretty small organization. And I think although you're spread across obviously the 2 sites in Estonia, Estonia, Lithuania. I've gone.
no, it's Tallinn in Estonia. Yeah,
Of course.
right.
Yeah. And then in Ireland, you've always felt kind of quite family, a family feel to the organisation.
Yeah, we're not a big business. I mean, we run a tight ship, and yes, it is sort of it is that orientation, similar to you guys, but I always have the resounding memory in my mind. I was saying to Nikki of the day we came and visited you, and the absolute passion and enthusiasm you had for conservation of rhinos. It was just such a big thing. It was brilliant.
Well, I have to say that the certainly the salaries don't are not what attract people to come and work for Save the Rhino. So it has to be the enthusiasm for the cause. And I think one of the things I love about every member of the team is that they all get it. And they all end up, even if they weren't runners, they end up doing a 10K run. They haul our rhino costumes around. They get involved in their own cake bake sales and so on. It really has, I think, changed the lives of the staff who work for us. You know, there's always, even when they manage to leave, there's always a bit of rhino in there somewhere. And I love on London Marathon Day that ex-staff members come back and help, you know, at the picnic rug, greet all the runners. They know exactly what to do. They're making the sandwiches. You know, we've got a really great network of people. I'm remembering when we first met and you came to the office, you know, we had gaffer tape holding the carpet together. We had mouse droppings behind all the cupboards.
Yeah, all of that.
Too closely. Yeah, I think luckily we didn't have a health and safety person then, because I think they'd have had kittens.
Well, the beauty of it was you're right next to Borough Market, which was equally lovely, and my first time I'd ever been there. And
we had to have some attractions to lure people to the office. That was always part of our marketing pitch. But obviously, one of the things that the funds you've been donating so regularly, you know, every month that in it comes, one of the big helps for us has been that it's unrestricted income. Rather than being restricted to a particular field program, you've left it to our trustees to decide how to spend the money. And that has been incredibly valuable because, you know, sort of some projects are just really hard to fundraise for. When it's just paying vehicle fuel because you have to deploy your rangers in the field, you know, you can't go and stick a logo on something saying this building was built thanks to, you know, whichever company or whichever donor. And then there are, you know, but those ongoing core costs are absolutely essential, particularly, you know, in this last year when COVID has meant that there just hasn't been any tourism income. The other sort of types of things that we've been able to fund for core funds are intelligence work, gathering information about the criminal syndicates. And again, you can't provide detailed donor reports about that very confidential stuff. I don't know all of it. It has to be kept on a need-to-know basis. And having donors like you, like Rhino Stationery, that trust us to spend the money well without attaching strings to the gift in the first place, that is really incredibly helpful. So thank you for that. And I hope that you can tell from our impact reports and so on just how much we've been able to achieve even this last year. You know, it's been extraordinary. So thank you.
It's brilliant. And I know that Nikki and Robert and the team, etc., and myself, we absolutely want our support just to continue on and on and on.
Great.
We have that passion like you do for willing it to succeed and work and you know, I remember back to that first time you gave me the statistics, or gave us the statistics of what's happened to the rhino populations, and it's just horrific, absolutely. And people don't, I mean, the man in the street, people just have no comprehension of that.
Yeah.
It's just the enormity of it.
But again, I think that's where your support has been so helpful, because it's not just about the money. Having our logo on the back of all the recycled stationery products that you produce, and of course they're going into classrooms all over the UK there and wider, I understand. And with the strap line on the back, the buying rhinos saves rhinos. It's amazing now when we're reviewing job application letters from recent graduates,
Oh, really?
How did you first hear of Save the Rhino? And they'll say, it was always on the back of every exercise book. And it's this subliminal sort of indoctrination has just been incredible for us.
And do you, I mean, because it goes on the back of around 30 million products a year. You know, okay, there's small, low value products, but getting in front, and there is a nearly 1 in 2 chance that children will have sight of that logo during their education. You know, so it's a big hit, you know, in that regard.
It helps. I mean, obviously, I think we've got a great name. It does what it says on the tin. We've got the logo. If people are interested in running or live in London, they'll have seen our costumes during the marathon. But having come across the name at an early age, and especially when kids, we all know, are incredibly interested in the natural world and environment, in green causes, I think the exposure for us has been absolutely amazing. So again, one of those benefits that we hadn't really anticipated, I think, when we first started talking with you.
Well, yes and no. Your young marketing lady at the time, she saw the value in trying to get it across to children and combining the logos. Sometimes she just wanted your website, if we had put the website on the back, and then we obviously decided to enlarge it a bit, if you say, and sort of make it a bit more punchy. And that has worked, because on the back of every exercise book, it says using rhinos saves rhinos. And that has gone, you know, I don't know, well, however many years it is, I don't know, 150 million products or something. That little logo's appeared in front of kids. And I know I talk, if anybody asks me what I do, and I say, well, when you went to school, do you remember the little rhino on the back of the book? I don't think I've ever met anybody who says no. They all remember it. They all remember it. Yeah, so there is that subliminal thing. It works.
So I wanted to ask, of all the products that you produce, do you have a particular favorite, you know, design or model?
For me, the humble exercise book.
Okay.
It is what, like you said, it is what it says on the tin.
Yep.
It's hugely effective. It does the job, and it helps children be educated. Which, if we contribute anything, it's that. I mean, okay, it's business and it's what you do, but it's at the end of the day, it's nice to think that what you do has a practical use. Well,
I have a personal favorite. It's over on my desk, but it's in that recycled range, and it's one of the A4 ones with the spiral binding, obviously with the logos on the back. And in lockdown, I've been learning Kiswahili via one of the language apps. Wow. And I need to see things written down as well as just seeing them on the phone. And I need to return and swap. So every kind of unit, I've got a nice page of A4 notes that I've made for myself with the vocabulary and the grammar. So I carry one of your books around with me every day because I'm completely obsessed with learning Kiswahili, and it's such a lovely book. It makes me write more neatly in it.
Are you good at the language now?
I'm loving it. I absolutely love it. I'm about halfway through after 2.5 months. So in theory, I'm traveling to Kenya in September to run an ultra marathon. So I hope travel allows. And so if I maintain the current pace, and if I have any breath during the run, I'll be able to chat with the rangers who are protecting us.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
I wanted to ask Carey, what's the closest you've come to seeing a rhino?
As a child at Dublin Zoo, and then as a young parent at Whipsnade. Whipsnade was by far and away, I just remember my children, think it was fabulous, fabulous. But I think, I'm trying to remember, but I think I've seen, I lived in Chalk Farm, so I was near Regent's Park. And I think in the early days, there was a rhino there, but they don't keep them there in London Zoo anymore.
That's right. The Ellies and the rhinos were moved from Regent's Park out to Whipsnade to give them more space. And yeah, I think the Whipsnade has now got white rhinos and greater one-horned. And I think at one point they had a black rhino as well. But you mentioned Dublin Zoo. They've been long-standing supporters of ours since 2006. They support a particular program in Zimbabwe. And Tallinn Zoo, where the main production line is.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, they give us a few €1,000 each year. They've been supporting a conservancy called Old Jogi in Kenya, which has a big population of black rhinos. And they've also been supporting the Sumatran Rhino Sanctuary in Waikambas National Park in Indonesia.
Well, I must say to Nikki, because we should do something together with Tallinn Zoo then.
I'm sure they'd be interested, and actually I was remembering that talking this famous picnic. So back in, if I might have the date wrong, I think it was 2008.
Was it really? Okay.
At that point, the BBC just announced that it was going to do a fundraiser like Comic Relief or whatever, but to do it for wildlife, and it was called BBC Saving Planet Earth. And sadly, it only happened for 1 year. There was celebrities went out to film various, whichever endangered species, and one of them not featured in the filming, but one of the species that they talked about was Sumatran rhinos. And we'd put in a grant application, and we'd got funding. It was 30,000. It paid for a new patrol boat and I think some salaries for the rhino protection units. And then sort of there were these clips with the celebrities and films went out on television, and they threw a launch party at Kew, didn't they? And I think it was one Friday after work, and it was a really lovely evening. It wasn't like the May that we've been having. And I think each of the beneficiary charities got to bring 10 or 12 guests. And said the deal was you turned up with your picnic and a rug, and David Attenborough was there, which is obviously a big thrill. And there was a big screen, I think, showing things, showing the clips and so on. And it was just a lovely evening. And I was there with my team. You'd got a sailing friend with you.
He was actually a chap called Robert Brown, who's actually now chairman of the National Trust in Northern Ireland.
Oh, gosh.
In those days, he was head of the RSPB in Ireland. But yes, we had a lovely wine-fueled evening, which was extremely nice.
I wish all meetings with corporate supporters were like that. Enough of sitting around the boardroom, but that I think that's one of the things about our relationship, our friendship, is that actually we've always had a great chat when we meet, as well as doing good work together and promotions. And I know that Nick, your marketing manager Nikki Porter is working with my team Michaela and Zara now, and there are plans for various promotions and activities and so on. But I love that we have a good time whenever we do meet up.
Well, I think it's important. But anyway, and I look forward to the next time we do it, because it has been too long.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think did one of the team do a talk with your staff that we did a online thing?
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to join that at that time. I couldn't join it, but but yes, and I know that our people find out both. That's why I'm interested in the Tallinn Zoo thing, because our people in the factory in Tallinn are interested. It's quite an interesting thing, and we should talk more, because we produce a lot of books in the Nordics now, and in Finland the Rhino logo goes on the back, but without the charitable connection. And we should probably have a chat at some time with Nikki and your team, about how we could possibly link up there, because our market share in Finland is similar to that of the UK. Okay, it's a small population, but those people are passionate as well about
still significant
stuff,
yeah. Well, Michaela would be very happy to talk to you more about that. I wondered kind of whether you'd be willing to talk a bit about what the partnership has meant to the company as a whole, and
well, two aspects to it. One, in frank honesty, we'd have liked to have been able to help you more, to be honest, but obviously we've had our tough times ourselves with the crash and various things. And I know that Nikki and Robert and the team would like to do more and grow more together, both because it is sensible from a marketing, practically. I mean, that's, you know, you have to look at the business aspect. It is sensible, but it is also important to try and help things that are worthy, right? If you see what I mean. And all of us are passionate in our own way. I mean, I now have two donkeys, Big Don and Wee K, which are my own sort of rescue version. Although to be honest with you, it's also because I'm developing meadowland, and having donkeys graze it is very, very useful to do.
Yeah.
But in the business sense, it has always been important to us. We like the fact that we help a charity positively, even if it's in a you know, it's not in as big a way as we'd like to do, and you know, I think we can do more together and grow it. But nevertheless, as you say, we've done it consistently through you know, month after month, and we do appreciate. We like the contact that you have with us, and the information that goes through. The people are interested, and it's nice not that you're not just doing the day job, that there is something there that, you know, water on a stone. It's practical and effective and useful. And I am, I mean, I think all of us as we get older actually become more conscious of the damaged human beings. We're a real messy bunch, really. We're not good to the planet. There are too many of us, and you know, we're not kind to our co-inhabitants. And we should all be doing more towards that. And our little bit in this, I think, is important for that.
It's a very tangible and practical way that you've done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy that you've enjoyed the partnership. And you're certainly our longest standing corporate supporter, and up there with the most significant. Yeah. It's
well, that's I mean, that's nice to know, but I didn't but anyway, what we can do to help, Kathy, we do, and we enjoy, and we look forward to it going, you know, rolling on as long as we can make it, you know.
Yeah. Can I ask, how has the company found the last year? COVID, lockdown, home working, all of these things. It's obviously affected us.
It's a mixed bag. We I mean, obviously we've had in some aspects a real horror story, because we've had you know, big customer go bust. You know, we business has been way down. You know, it's been a tough year, but Robert and the team have worked sterling work, and made the best out of a tough scenario. Actually, I think, to be frank, this year ahead is going to be tough, because the knock on will carry on, you know, for a period of time. But interestingly enough, our online business obviously has gone through the roof, and it's fascinated me at the colossal amount of parental influence on learning. You know, we have had tens, if not hundreds of thousands of orders, of tiny orders, ordering 1 or 2 exercise books, specialist books and stuff, right, for poor mum or dad. Although I have to tell you that I think it's about 96% of all the orders are ordered by ladies. So I think mum's taken the brunt of this.
Perhaps they're all learning Kiswahili, Carey. You never know. It might not be for the kids at all.
You could have a bigger crowd with you in Kenya than you think. But obviously people have got on with education, and although education has definitely taken a step back, and there's, you know, there's a, you know, children at every level have suffered, you know, in learning. Forget about all the mental stuff, but just straightforward educational achievement has had a knock, and that's going to take a while to recover. So it's been tough all round. Yeah. And no matter what your opinions are of who does what and how, and governments and all the rest of it, it's been a tough call, and a tough year. And my goodness me, I think everybody looks for. I mean, I went past our local school the other day. Wasn't it just lovely to see kids playing in the playground?
Yeah, yeah. Ordinary, everyday things that you wouldn't have thought twice about 2 years ago.
Totally. There was a food critic in the Irish Times yesterday who said he thought he was a bit too tough on restaurants. He says, but if he got into one, they gave him butter spread over cardboard, he'd be delighted just now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm much more easily pleased, I think, these days. For me, it's just been a treat as of last week when the restrictions eased. We now have a maximum of 3 people a day in the office, and just having another person moving around and someone to, I've been drafting proposals, someone else there to, just have a chat with while you make your coffee. Gosh, it just changes the atmosphere enormously. I had nearly a year of essentially working on my own every day. And part of what I love about the organization is the other people I work with. And although we have, we call it a midden every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, we have an MS Teams call and we chat through what we did last night or the weekend and what's coming up. But that reminds me, I think you guys go to on a different level altogether on your Friday afternoon calls.
Well, yes, I'm not involved in that, but yes, and they set topics and subjects and things people have to write and contribute and all that. So yes, they have a fabulous time. Occasionally, I probably shouldn't be, but I'm asked advice to help answer a question or whatever it is. But it's but yes, and they've done. I mean, our team actually, they pretty much all enjoyed lockdowns. Horrible, it's the wrong way of putting it, but they've made the most out of it, and it's been very, very positive. Actually, as we talk, Robert is actually on an airplane coming over here today.
Okay.
We will have our first live meeting this afternoon.
Congratulations, so and enjoy it.
He sent a photograph from the entrance of Gatwick this morning, and it was only him. There was nobody else. And you just think, wow, that's right. There's not another person in the photograph.
Well, I think your Friday afternoon sessions, you invited Michaela and Zara to join one, and that week the theme was Rhino, though I understand you choose all sorts of themes. And I think it wasn't just the normal pub quiz.
No.
They've really gone to town with, I think it was Rhino art, and there was a real one and a fake one, and you had to decide which was which. And I think there was fancy dress involved and masks and all sorts. I mean,
Brilliant.
Not just face masks, but proper masks.
Very good, very good. I was always impressed in your big Rhino outfits. Do you still have them? You got them from, was it one of the opera companies?
That's right. They were made for, there's a surrealist play called Rhinoceros by UNESCO that was turned into an opera by the Sir Peter Hall Company. And the woman who made them, here's some trivia for you, Nikki Lyons, she built the Teletubbies, for example. Okay. She worked on the Warhorse theatre productions. She worked with the Jim Henson Company doing the Muppets and so on. So yeah, she actually built the costumes. The heads were designed by Gerald Scarfe. But yeah, we still have them. About 10 are in good nick. The others need a bit of TLC. So we're hoping that when the sort of theatre prop schools are able to have students back, that we could persuade a team to do some repairs. Because yeah, some of them date from 1991 and they are getting pretty old. They were never designed for running marathons. I
mean, it's a heck of a thing for someone to put one of those on and run a marathon.
Yeah.
That some dedication.
Or in my case, cheating, because when I first joined Save the Rhino in 2001, so I'm nearly, it'll be 20 years in October, I realized we'd got this reputation for running marathons. So I signed up, and then about a week before I realized I hadn't done anything like enough training and that I was going to have to walk around. So I thought if I do it in Rhino costume, I'll have an excuse. I'll be able to walk. And it took me 6 hours, 59 minutes, but I got round.
Wow. How many marathons have you run?
7 ordinary and 3 ultras. And as I say, I'm hoping to go back to Kenya in September when I would see some of the Deer Field program that we work with, run a marathon. We've got friends, the ultra, it's 5 marathons in 5 days. We've got some good friends who want to come do it with us, and we'll raise great bucks to spend on rhino conservation. But actually in this case, it's the 4 Rangers Ultra. It's to raise funds for the rangers who protect all of our wildlife. So things like life insurance, medical insurance, uniforms, gym equipment, so that they, they've got some things to do that are motivational in their time off, but while they're at a remote outpost. So yeah, it's been that's been a new development in the last few years.
Have you found sort of African inflation significant?
Luckily, the dollar has kept pretty strong. I certainly remember, gosh, 2011, I went and worked in Namibia and Zimbabwe on sabbatical, and the pound is roughly double what it was then. So we're finding our grants. Of course, most of our income comes in sterling and euros and dollars, and they've held strong against the rand, and of course they've held. Dollar against dollar has been good in East Africa. The pound has taken a bit of a battering. Again, that'll be one of the things that you have to contend with, dealing with different currencies and pricing structures and different economies. It's our jobs aren't easy, are they?
No, and there's something new keeps us busy every day. And now we've got the joys of Brexit as well.
Yeah,
so that's having an impact. But it's interesting. I wonder sometimes, because obviously as Africa develops and evolves, people want a better standard of living, and that isn't without cost. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not talking environmentally, I'm talking literally to the people, but I mean, the environmental thing's a whole different thing, if you like, but obviously you don't want that impacting on the work you're trying to do.
Quite. I've talked about ranger welfare, but it's also absolutely essential that by their nature, and because rhinos are so poached, the conservancies or the national parks are heavily protected, and sometimes they're at risk of feeling like fortresses. But it's so important to make sure that the communities who live around the boundaries, or who are employed by or have relatives who work in the park, that they have some kind of stakehold, that there are benefits that derive, and not just tourism, because we've seen what has happened over the last year when it's been completely slashed, but opportunities for employment, whether it's growing different types of vegetables and so on to sell to the lodges. But it's not even just about cash. It's about sort of equity. It's about involving them in the discussions. What is the impact of having a heavily protected national park or conservancy next to you? It's giving them a role in decision making. So it's not just sort of, here's some money, hope you love our rhinos. You've got to really engage with people and really work with them to make sure that the sort of the land use, the neighbours that you've got alongside you, all see some benefit, and that you don't leave people behind. I think we all see the problems of splits in wealth and what that will do to our own countries, let alone anywhere else. So yeah, lots of challenges. I wanted just to ask, well, obviously going back to COVID, Rhino Stationery has been able to donate throughout. That must have been one of the tougher decisions you had to make to continue.
Well, as you know, when the crash happened, we had to review things for a period of time. And this time it was yes, Robert reviewed everything. And one of the things we agreed was that, that obviously you guys were equally having as tough a time as we were having, no doubt. And the consensus was, no, we just carry on. We don't, yes, there are things you cut. But to be frank, one of the savings we had, as all businesses had, was we had no travel.
Yeah.
So the Save the Rhino moved into the travel budget for a period of time.
You've obviously got a friendly accountant.
But yes, because well, it's one of the, as you say, one of the, you have to muck in together. There's that element of that,
Yeah.
And the team running the business now are as passionate about it as I always have been. So it's still there.
Yeah, we've all made strange and unpredictable sacrifices in this last year. I think mine is I'm just too mean with the charity's money to have the central heating on in the winter when it's just me in the office. So I invested in a puffer jacket, which took ages to arrive, but it's finally here and just perfect for our May weather.
In Ireland, they say it's not the weather that's the problem; it's the clothes you wear.
Yeah, I was wearing the wrong clothes last winter, but we saved on our heating bills.
Likewise, likewise.
Carey, do you have any ambitions to go to Africa and see a rhino in the wild?
To be frank, no, I haven't. But I would like to see a rhino close up again. But I'm for 20 years, Kathy, I traveled on 200 to 250 flights a year, and I did 100, 130, 140 nights away, and so I love my home.
Yeah, the novelty.
I'm a terrible
wears off. Yeah.
word now, but I mean, it's not to say that I definitely wouldn't, but I don't have that ambition, and I also I've actually become a wee bit conscious about more environmental things, and we do outside of Save the Rhino. I mean, we're trying to do more to that sort of thing. We've moved every rhino, all the rhino books are no longer packed in plastic. We were the first business of our type. We've moved away. All our exercise books are paper banded. We haven't got rid of plastic totally, but we're well on our way. Single-use plastic is certainly on the way down, and so we're focusing. And I do my wee bit as well of actually trying to minimize or lessen. One, because I want to anyway, but two, I think we're all going to have to do this.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, I mean, you and your work, it's very important that you are, seen to be there and go there from time to time for all the roles. But for someone like me, I would like to travel more, but I'd like to know Britain more and Ireland more and Europe. I don't. So, but I would like to see a rhino again close up. Maybe I get the opportunity with you guys to see them somewhere in the UK or wherever.
We'll see if we can make that happen at Dublin or Tulane Zoo, because I say they've been great supporters of ours, and it's being able to tickle a rhino behind the ears and watch it sort of crease up in delight.
I would just love that.
Their skin is so warm and lovely. Yeah.
I would come back and tell Big Don and Wee Kay all about it, my donkey.
They'll probably sniff you and the big ears and big eyes and think, where the hell have you been?
I don't know if you've ever had donkeys, but they're on the same intelligence level as dogs, roughly speaking. And so they come in and lie in front of the fire if they could. I mean, they're very sociable beasts, much more than horses. They're just they're actually very pleasant and relaxing to have around. So
a former boss of mine has a couple of donkeys. She's got a house in Spain, and so yes, Bay and Quixote, as in donkey.
Yeah, brilliant.
They are very sweet animals.
Excellent. Well, I do look forward. I mean, if I could do that with a rhino, I would absolutely love it. I would love it.
I think you deserve it after all these years of support. Now, Michaela and I will get on the case. Carey, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on or about the partnership? Or
no, I think the partnership has been just that. It's been just that, and to be honest with you, we would like. Over time, we'd like to do more together, but we're also very conscious that you guys have a job to do and you have to get on with it. And you don't really want us fussing around you.
Yeah, but we can't do anything on our own. We're so much, without our supporters who come in all shapes and sizes and different backgrounds, different locations, we couldn't do any of what we do. Rhino conservation is expensive. Unfortunately, they're not some tiny little animal that you can just have in a small area and they breed like Billy-O and everything's wonderful. It takes a long time and a lot of money, and we couldn't do it on our own. And frankly, even if we could, I wouldn't want to, because it's, as we all know, it is so much more fun doing things with friends and partners. It's
totally. And we've been delighted to contribute our bit to it, and a little bit to it, and the benefit of being able to actually do something positive by putting it on the back of the books, that actually puts it into the minds of so many children in the UK.
Oh, well, Carey, big thanks to you and to the whole team at Rhino Stationery. It's long may it continue. Very happy 100th birthday whenever you decide to call the date. And we will hope that we can celebrate together, whether in same room, different room, when that big 100,000 figure comes up in July.
Look forward to that very much. I should tell you, I still have a little rhino on my desk.
Lovely.
I have it over my shoulder. I think you can see it above the fireplace.
We'll come and do a wildlife census.
Very good. Kathy, it's been really lovely talking to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time, Carey. Great to see you, and yeah, sooner or later in real life.
I look forward to that very much.
Okay.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.